Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm here with my friend Karen Peñate, and she will be talking about many things that are important to this podcast. But before we start, I would like to introduce the channel, which is The Walk to My Awakening, and in Spanish, El Camino a Mi Despertar. And the reason why it's in both languages is because I will be interviewing a guest from Spanish and English so they can talk to us about their experience in this awakening. So, with no more to say, I would like to hand the floor to my dear friend Karen Peñate. And Karen, can you please tell us what you do and how you can help us in this awakening that we are going through?
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm a hypnotherapist that specializes in past life regressions. I use the past life regression method, which is a way, it's only a tool really with hypnosis to get to the subconscious of the people. And in that way, we can obtain more information from your higher self to how to better live your life. The past lives are only a stepstone
Mhm.
to get you to a place where we can call the higher self, the subconscious, or whatever you want to call it, your oversoul. And within that, we can pose questions that we've always had, such as health ones, spiritual ones, family ones, and anything that concerns the soul. This is the majority of my focus and how we help pretty much all the people is that we empower them. We get them to a place where they're able to release all patterns that have not been working, toxic patterns, if you notice them, repetitive toxic relationships, family patterns, um, work issues, not understanding your path or what your path should be. When we speak to the oversoul or the higher self, we're able to get some instruction, some guidance that we're not able to practically gather when we're in our conscious self in our regular daily life. And this is a one way to get it.
Wow, interesting. And I do understand that sometimes when you don't relieve this bad experience that you have, develop some type of diseases in some part of your body, like, for example, cancer. So, can you tell us how this can benefit us from preventing any future disease in our body?
Well, first, usually people come to us when they already have something, right?
Oh.
So, yeah, so like if they're having a headache that's been going on and they can't explain, or like you mentioned, cancer, there are different causes that could come, the root cause, they could be from this life, right? Or it could be from another life.
Mhm.
And what we do in regression is trying to figure out where it is. And our higher self is going to let us know whether it is from this lifetime or in a life or in a past lifetime. If it's from a past lifetime, we're going to see a story develop. We're going to see a scenario. We're going to see a whole theme in the hypnotic session, which, by the way, hypnosis doesn't feel like anything. I always tell people there isn't such a thing as a hypnotized
Mhm.
feeling. If people are afraid of that, if people feel like it's very weird or it's out there or somebody can take over or someone will take advantage of you, obviously, if you go with a reputable person, it is none of those things. You don't lose control. You don't get manipulated into, anything you don't want to. And that's because you're working with reputable people. But when we see the story, and by the way, the hypnotherapist is only the facilitator. The
Mhm.
hypnotherapist is not telling the person anything about their past life. We're not psychic. We're not, although we're intuitive, we're not psychic. We're not telling them, oh, so you're seeing then this, that happened. No.
Mhm.
What we let the person speak. We only have questions which we have already discussed prior to the appointment. And the person, let's say, has this headache and they want to find out, or the cancer, they want to find out how it happened, how it came
Mhm.
about.
Mhm.
And During the hypnosis, I have the questions already prepared, which say, tell me more about where the origination of this headache is. And the person would answer, I was in the Civil War, and the last thing before I was killed was that I got shot in the head. And then I see myself falling and I passed away. And that was the last thing that was in my mind that, I got the pain of the bullet through my head. And when it comes to people with the cancer, they're sometimes it could be ancestral, they can tell
Mhm,
from a past life. They're like, well, we're carrying a lot of
mhm,
anger, a lot of pain, and now it's manifested in the limbs in this lifetime. So these are some of the ways that we are able to find out the root
mhm,
of where it could come from. And as far as in the present, whether, because there's a difference between sometimes seeing things in a past life and sometimes seeing from things from this life. And
mhm,
things from this life are going to feel um, like a short memory, like a short snap, like a picture. It's going to
mhm,
be really short, and that's how we know it's from this lifetime. And the person may say, well, I have a mother wound. And that means there has been issues with the mother. There was a connection that was never made, an emotional connection, which is what nourishes the child into becoming this powerful, empowered adults. If
mhm,
that bond wasn't made, then the child carries this emotional wound for the rest of their lives. And it may show up as in breast cancer.
mhm,
Okay, that's usually one of the ways that obviously you think about it, right? Like the breast, womanhood, also the female principle, which is lost
mhm,
if you either didn't have a mother or you didn't have that connection to a motherly figure. That's when hypnotherapy, it's so helpful for us to heal that mother wound because it's not that they didn't love you truly. They couldn't. That's we're able to understand finally where that comes from. We reach the child within the person and make them understand it was never their fault. And in this way, not only do we relieve symptoms in the waking every day that they may have from cancer, the nausea, the pain of the body, the pain from the chemotherapy, all that can be relieved by hypnotherapy
mhm.
because we're able to not only calm the nervous system, but also restart it, reset it, rebalance it.
That is so interesting. And as you were speaking, so many things came into my mind. And one of the things that I want to ask you is, where does this information come from when you are under hypnosis?
It is they're reaching their higher self. So you can say a connection to imagine yourself, you're this immense soul, and
Mhm,
only a little spark came to be here on earth. So you could be living in multiple dimensions, in multiple systems, in multiple planets, but there is one main entity, you would say, if you would call that, there isn't such a thing as an entity. It's just the higher wisdom that we don't carry every day because we were conditioned not to. That's what
okay.
it's important people to acknowledge. They were not taught. They were not we didn't learn, whether culturally or in
Mhm,
general
mhm,
educationally, that there is a wise part of ourselves, that intuition, what we call the sixth
mhm.
sense. That's what we are accessing when we are under hypnosis.
Could we say it could be your subconscious?
The subconscious, there's been sessions where we've asked that. We've asked the soul, what's the difference between the subconscious and the higher self?
Mhm.
And the answer was that the one is not separate from the other.
Okay.
But they are, it's like a limb, right? Like, so here is my arm and here is my
Mhm,
other arm. So how are they different from each other? Well, one is right and one is left. But they both work, for the same purpose. They both have the same input in your life, and they both can make change within yourself. They can help you transform ways that you've been stuck, patterns that you learned that were misguided or just didn't know at a time the best way to do it.
Okay, it was well explained, because people have so much confusion, especially now that we are going through this transition of moving on to what they call the fifth dimension. And
Yes,
it's so much information out there that we don't know which direction to take, so we can be able to have an awakening in a very healthy way, rather than just going crazy with all of this information that we have been accumulating in ourselves. So having you explaining this make it more easier for us to seek for other ways that we can actually get assistance from, like someone like you having past life regressions. It helps a lot. So people can understand that we are just a physical body
that's
here,
it. That's it.
and
That's it.
we are not this physical body. We are more than this.
Exactly. It's the divine purpose, the divine light within us that has been diminished. And hypnotherapy helps you bring it back to many that have lost their way in their path. Finding there's a lot of pain within emotional pain from clients.
Mhm.
And it began many in childhood. And it's not to blame the parents because we only parents also we only did with the best we could with the
Right.
information we had at that time. Now that doesn't take away the now you have the power to change that though. You didn't at
Mhm.
one point,
Mhm.
but now you have the power. So it's not you can go just through life now saying, well, I had this childhood problem, so now I'm just going to because it happened then, I'm just going to let it be. No, you actually need to take, the task into your hands and try to not only heal for yourself, but for the rest of your lineage too. Because remember, not only we're carrying from before, but we're
Mhm.
also are leaving behind something. And what are you leaving behind?
Wow, I am so happy you said that, because we have the tendency of blaming others for things we are doing. And this is the time to take responsibility for yourself, to be able to have this awakening and make changes in your life, because this is the time. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's
Mhm.
important also, like when we talked about the subconscious and the higher self, the ego also is a third
Yes,
component to
yes.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
the ego, let's say it's like a leg, right? So it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, like, the left arm is the subconscious, the right arm is the higher self, and the leg is the two legs, let's say, because it's pretty big. The
Mm-hmm.
ego is the two legs. And the ego was created at a primitive time to help primitive man to survive. This is
Okay.
why it was and the mind is the flight or fight or freeze
Mm-hmm.
state that maybe some of you have heard of. So this is part of the primitive mind and is connected to the ego. So the ego, it's not your enemy. It had a purpose at the beginning of times, which was to save you in situations that were dangerous. If you saw a mammoth coming, if
Mm-hmm.
you needed to be with community, for example, being alone, it was not good because then obviously you needed to be afraid because animals could attack you and all that. So you stay with community. So that's where the ego was important and it was helpful. But with time, it became blocking too much.
Mm-hmm.
It became like that oversensitive smoke alarm that even if you put perfume, the fumes of the perfume, it goes off. And
Yes.
it shouldn't have done that, right? It's just perfume. But that's how the ego got so easily triggered. Oh, love is coming. Shut down,
Mm-hmm.
break
Mm-hmm.
up. That's the ego trying to just save you from something. The same with finding out about hypnosis. Hypnosis is scary. Uh-oh, let's shut down. We're not going to allow that. That's the subconscious shutting down ideas that are outside of the norm that it's always known
Mm-hmm.
and it just like a protective role. So once you make peace with with the ego, like okay, we're friends here. You're not my enemy. You're something that tried to prevent me getting
Right.
hurt at one point, but is no longer necessary that way. I
Mm-hmm.
still need to hear some alarms because there is part times that there's that gut feeling it's also connected. That's why it's connected intuitively both to the ego, to the subconscious, to the higher self when you get that little call in the middle of your stomach and the pit that this doesn't feel right. Something is off. That's when you listen to the ego, but you gotta check, may have a lot of check and balances.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where is this? Is the situation dangerous one? Obviously, if you're in a dark alley and you have that feeling, you need to listen to that ego, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if you are in a place where you're learning, although you don't know what it is, and you have that little feeling, just be open to the experience. If there's no dangers in daylight, you're with others around that are positive, it's a sign it should be okay.
Okay. It's very, very interesting, because so many people have that ego just blocking them from doing things they need to do, and I understand that it's there to protect us, but you don't need it all the time. You don't need
Yes.
to use
And
your
it
ego all the
overacts. It
time.
completely overacts. It overacts, it over dramatizes.
Yes.
It really creates a story in your mind that is not the reality of the
Mm-hmm.
situation. Because something that could be not meant in a way that was malicious
Mm-hmm.
by someone who has lived in a life in survival mode, where everything has been dangerous, meaning their childhood was dangerous, their environment was dangerous, their peers were dangerous. Everything is going to be a threat,
Yeah.
okay? So if someone does something just a little bit different, their ego is gonna be like, uh-oh, they're being mean, uh-oh, they hate you, uh-oh, they're,
Mm-hmm.
and it's nothing like that. From the other side, the other person maybe just going about their day, doing something mindlessly, and the other person who has the overactive ego gets triggered.
Correct.
So these are the ways when it gets the best of us. And
Mm-hmm.
this is why it's when we get to center ourselves and when we empower ourselves and we find out where it's coming from,
Mm-hmm.
we can guide as best responses. Okay, well, where is this coming from? Is it coming from my ego response, or is it coming from my subconscious, or is it intuitively? Where is it coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the ways when you're spiritually awakened more, where it comes in handy because you are able to discern. You're able to stop before you do something reactive, which
Right.
maybe
Right.
make it even a more harmful reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Take that with road rage. It happens every day. Somebody cuts in front of you, and then some people just react and they want to go and chase
Mm-hmm.
the other person. What if that person that cut in front of you needs to get to a hospital because they're having heart pain, or there's somebody in labor? You
Right.
never even thought that in your mind. You're
Mm-hmm.
thinking
Mm-hmm.
threat. The ego's thinking threat. This person threatened my personhood by cutting me off and disrespected me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nothing like that. The person driving is trying to get to a hospital. They're
Right.
just trying to get survive for some reason. And here we are having this whole battle with them when they have no idea this has happened.
Yeah, so it's good to just stop and think and just let it go. Calm down. It's not that serious. I seen people rushing on the road, on the street, driving like crazy. And not too long ago, a guy was gonna get hit by a car because he just crossed in front of a car. And I just yelled at him like, listen, it's not that serious. It's not that
Yeah,
serious.
yeah.
But
But see, but
that's the life we live in.
to someone who has an overactive ego, like an overactive alarm, everything is serious.
Yeah.
For them, it's life and death. And that's what happens. The ego was meant to save you from a life and death situation.
Mm-hmm.
But when everything is a life and death situation, you end up living this really negative, um, propense to accidents, to fights, to
Mm-hmm.
anger, to so many things because you stayed in that survival mode that it's just at one point it was necessary, it isn't anymore, but now it's working against you. Now it's
Right.
holding you back.
Right.
Now it's not letting you flow because like all your channels, your energy channels are going to be blocked from this anger
Mm-hmm.
that you
Mm-hmm.
happen. So let's say you don't even react, but you're still angry. Now that stays with you too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many ways that the ego can get out of control, and seeking help is one of the ways, and asking for help because it's so easy to think
Yeah.
that's just life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's just every day. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's That's how the family, that's how my friends are. And well, then, ask your question, is this really serving everybody? Is this
Mm-hmm.
serving you? One of the ways we know when something is affecting us to a point that it needs to be changed is when it has affected a part of our life that we can no longer pretend is not there. Let's say work, health, relationships.
Mm-hmm.
If you're having any of these with an increasing amount of issues, there is something within yourself that needs to be looked into. What is it I say? It's me. It's not me. It's not you. It's me.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
truly is that.
Yes.
Instead of blaming the system, the exes, the road, politicians, just how about you calm yourself
Yes.
inside
Mm-hmm.
so all of that don't trigger you.
Wow, I'm glad you got to that point because we are just living like that. We are neglecting ourselves. We are
Yeah,
not seeking assistance. But me, in particular, as an example, I don't like to ask for help, and that is not good. And I
yeah,
have learned that if I need help, I need to ask for help. I
yes,
need to ask for help because it helps a lot. Even and you don't even need like the physical assistance of someone, just an ear for someone to hear what you're going through. That's more than enough.
yeah. Not asking for help is actually one of the biggest symptoms of our programming having been unbalanced when we were younger because we learned to be independent so much,
Hmm.
not ask for help, and I can do it. And that's part of an ego too, that the
Right,
ego is
right.
connected to that
Yes.
too. Um, it's trying for us, like we can do it by ourselves, but the truth is we're part of one community,
Mm-hmm.
universal, whether
Yes.
you like it or not. Okay. So the more you stay away from community, the less is going to be possible for you to achieve a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very rare that we find someone who just worked forever on their own and then they did something marvelous, right? All of them needed someone in order to, whether it was to get into school or whether it was studying, whether it was teachers, whether it was peers, whether it was reading from others. We need community.
Yes, we do.
So asking for help, it's so vital and it's so hard at the same time because
Mm-hmm.
we think it's rooted in weakness
Yes.
and it is not.
Mm-hmm.
Asking for help is not rooted in weakness. That is just strengthening the bonds of community.
Yes.
Not it's not about being weak, and it's something that was related to worth, our worth, right? If I ask for help, then I am weak, so then my worth is being questioned. And the
Mm-hmm.
truth is, once you're connected and tethered to source, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, to that force, few things feel like are separate from you, and therefore you're never weak. How could you be weak?
No.
And why would the universe want you to be? And weakness doesn't mean that it's less.
Mm-hmm.
This is something society, tradition has embedded in minds, not only to manipulate us, but also to take advantage. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're weak, so I'll push you down, and you're strong, so you're better. It doesn't, in spiritual terms,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that doesn't account to anything. It's truly not the same. One is not going to get to heaven because it was stronger, or transpass to a better place just because it was stronger. No, it has nothing to do with that weakness. It is a gift that we've been
Mm-hmm.
given
Mm-hmm.
to be humble,
Yes.
at
I totally
moments when we
agree.
need to realize we're powerless, and that's okay to surrender to be
Of
powerless.
course.
It's it's
Yes.
it's
We
it's
we all have our moments.
it's hard, right? To accept that we're powerless, and it's okay to be powerless. It's okay that
Mm-hmm.
we cried, that we showed emotion, that we saw people how we felt. Now, how they interpret it, that's their business, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
something that, but you only get this discernment as you grow in your journey.
Exactly. And when do you think is the appropriate time for people to seek probably a past life regression section?
Well, I've had clients that want their children to do it.
Oh,
I personally, that's me. I don't recommend it, but now that was an exceptional case, the one that the child was, wanted, the child itself was interested. The child felt that there was something that they needed to express because they kept on seeing visions and having dreams, and sometimes different words from a different language would come,
Mhm,
which isn't
mhm.
that something, right? That where does that come from? But it comes from something higher, and therefore that person, the parent, decided it's okay for them to try that. But for
Okay.
me, just as a parent that wants to impose that on a child, no.
No.
If you're 18 years old and older, you
Mhm,
can start, experimenting with that. My first desire to know about this came when I was 14 about past lives. I read a book, Echoes of the Soul.
I heard about
And
that book. Yeah.
yes, yes. And in that book, it was explained how some people choose to reincarnate to experience different things. And let's say in one life you experience to be the child, and the next one you're going to experience being the parent, or being a bum,
Mhm,
or being a dictator,
mhm,
or being a president, or being just a regular shoemaker in a town nobody knows.
mhm.
None of them are better or worse than the other. So, to experience a past life, just know that your intuitive channels will open up a lot after a past life regression. So, if you're not, let's say for people who are under medication for mental, whether diagnosis,
Mhm.
depression, bipolar, all of that, we just want you to work with a clinical hypnotherapist
Okay.
that way they know what's best approach because you're
Mhm,
taking
mhm.
medication. So it's not to affect. We don't recommend past life regression when someone is really volatile, when
Mm,
somebody is really emotional,
right.
because at that moment you're shut down pretty much. So you need to be calm, you need to be willing, you need to want it, and all you can get is benefit. It's there is the other, with anything, there's
Mhm.
people who go against it. But you're gonna feel the call if you're meant to have that experience.
Wow. So you do have to be willing to do it. So,
Yes, you have
okay.
to
Thank you
want
for
it.
saying that. Thank you.
Yes, you have. And I would say there's a high percentage of people that can get hypnotized. It's pretty
Mm-hmm.
high, but there are some cases when some people are not
Mm-hmm.
hypnotizable, whether it's an emotional barrier, a shutdown,
Mm-hmm.
whether they could be neurodivergent. That has something to do actually how your brain processes information.
Right.
It may not be so easy for them to go under hypnosis or access a past life. That doesn't mean anything they're more or less because of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they have a different way of seeing the world. And nothing is lost, It's a meditation. If it doesn't work as hypnosis, it works as a meditation and it could calm the person down either way.
Wow. So one question that I have is like in this era, we have so many children, babies or toddlers who are now remembering past life regressions and they talk to their parents and they tell their parents, but the parents don't understand. What
Yes.
suggestion do you give the parents to like and give support to that child and let them know that they're not crazy because in our culture,
Yeah.
I'm from the Dominican Republic, and when you speak about things like that, they automatically think that you are crazy or something is going on with your head, which is not the case. But what suggestion do you give parents for them to support their children when they are having these conversations with their parents?
Be open-minded. Open your mind to different possibilities. Um, it's not harming anyone unless it's harming the child that the child can't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
If the child is having nightmares,
Mm-hmm.
that may be something that they might need some sort of therapy in order to help the child assimilate what they're seeing because they may be accessing not only all the dimensions but past lives while they sleep. And this is why we don't bring all that information when we come to this earth because it is too much. It is too many lives that we pass, and some of them have been great, some of them not so much. And I tell this story always because when I had my first past life regression, I thought I was going to find out I was like some Egyptian important, Cleopatra troll.
That's what we all think.
And of course, I'm like, I had to be a queen. There's no way. And only to find out that I died all my lives. I was dirt poor in all of them.
Mhm, mhm.
And the ones that I saw in that session died before I was even 20. I died of tuberculosis. I
Wow.
fell off a horse. I drowned when I was 9. I mean, and none of them were like of any wealthy, so it has nothing to do really to anybody that feels, oh, I have an important life and I was really important. Okay, that's all great. If it's going to help you in this life to feel better, you go with that. But with
Mhm,
children, whatever they're feeling, let's support them. Let's not dismiss what they say. As a matter of fact, in general, anything our children tell us, let's pay attention. I know in the day we're so bombarded by social media, by wanting attention, by work,
mhm,
being overwork, being overtired, over suggestible because there's so much stuff happening. TV, the laptop, the iPad, the AirPods, all that is sending so many frequencies of us that it's easy to put our children aside, like, oh, just be quiet, oh, I'll talk to you
mhm,
later,
mhm,
or go to sleep, or, no,
mhm.
I don't want to hear that. Save those moments for stop yourself and take a breath
Yes.
and just listen to what the child has to say. Listen to the story,
Mhm,
whether it makes sense or not. And then just remember those little details. So you can ask, well, tell me more. And maybe if you open up that way, it'll go away because the more they see you're not paying attention, the more they maybe want to share that information with
mhm,
you. So pay attention and just in a positive way. Okay, well, how did you feel about that?
mhm,
Was it a good memory? Was it a bad memory? And if they feel troubled by it, okay, well, maybe we will say a prayer about it so it doesn't
mhm,
happen.
mhm.
How about if at night, if you're having nightmares, we're putting a shield of light around your bed so that way anything you feel that is going to be in the dream, it doesn't happen. And in the morning when they awake, check with them. How was it? Are you feeling better? Did you have any of your dreams? And not only it engages a child, but it makes them feel important, which is so
Yes,
necessary to
yes,
nourish for our
yes.
children.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wow, thank you for those suggestions. They are great. I hope you guys follow it. Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
and there, if
Great.
you want to have a little more understanding about past life regression, there's a book that I recommend a lot by Brian Weiss that is called Many Lives, Many Masters. That tells the story of a woman who went to a regression section and all of the things they did discover, not even the doctor, Brian Weiss, couldn't believe it. And that's why he wrote the book. So I recommend it. That will give you a better understanding on all of this that we are talking about. So
Yeah.
moving forward, Karen, you mentioned in the beginning that our body develop pains in some part of our body that tell us that something is wrong. That could be probably from energy that we are carrying, could be
Yes.
from a past life or even a present life that you carry so much anger and all of that. I consider it to be bad energy that accumulate in one part of your body. So can you determine what diseases they might be developing in when, let's say, when your kidney started bothering you? Is that a sign of telling you this is why it's happening and you have to check it and this is the reason why? Can you just go a little deeper with that information?
Yes, yes, yes. So, various part of our bodies gather different type of energies. In the ancient Chinese um, text and information that's been passed down, the organs in our body storage certain information.
Mhm.
Um, and there are almost like highways in our body of energy, right? Which is what the ancient Chinese called it the qi. So
Mhm.
whenever these become blocked, they create issues within our body. And they're stored in certain areas. I mean, and let's go with something really basic. And I'm going to share this because it's so important for people to know. Let's start with the eyes, right? Your eyesight is going. Now, this is also a way of your body telling you, what are you not seeing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you being blinded to that you don't want to acknowledge and don't want to hear? The same with the ears, hearing. If your hearing is going, what haven't you listened to? What call are you not answering to that this is why that's happening? It's a sign from your body that tells you what are you avoiding that you're not hearing. So imagine that it begins even with something so basic as to
Yeah.
your voice going, getting a lot of colds, getting a lot of sore throats. That tells me your communication in your throat chakra is being blocked. There, that means there is parts of you that want to share things and want to say things, and they're not being either allowed or you're suppressing yourself out of fear, out of confrontation. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like you feel like
Mm-hmm.
you're afraid of conflict, so I'm just going to shut down and I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to avoid problems by not saying anything, or just not even from today. It could be from years that you have not been saying, speaking your truth, speaking what you really, your beliefs, or what you
Mm-hmm.
putting
Mm-hmm.
boundaries, so that your thyroid, having issues with the thyroid, that's the same thing. It is your empowerment, it's an empowerment center that has been blocked. It's unbalanced energetically. So it's going to show in hormonal fluctuations. It's going to show in not speaking your truth. It's going to show in autoimmune diseases, which is actually what is autoimmune? Autoimmune is basically you're attacking yourself. You're being hard on yourself. It's you, you're fighting yourself because your whole life there's two truths. There's one that's feels right, and then there's the one that you learn. And the one
Mm-hmm.
that you learn is telling you, don't speak your truth. The needs of others are above yours. You are not worthy of this. Although a lot of people that I have self-worth, I love myself. I get manicures and I get pedicures, I love myself that way, and I dress myself good, and I go work out, and my self-worth is good because of that. There's more to it than just that, you know. Self-worth, when your self-worth is at a place that is more balanced, you're not afraid of being alone.
Mm-hmm.
You're not afraid of being abandoned. You're not afraid of speaking your truth. You're not afraid of disappointing others.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your way. You're not afraid of letting people have their own share of their work that they need to do, of putting boundaries because
Mm-hmm.
you love yourself. Well, I can't work. I don't have enough energy if I do all of your work. So it manifests in our thyroid. And then those where the imbalances come. And when it comes to the lungs, if you have grief that's unresolved, you're going to have a lot of bronchitis.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a lot of bronchial issues
Wow.
that need to be released.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you have problems with your kidneys, that is telling us there's fears. You may have a fear-based perception that you're afraid that's going to happen. You're afraid that's going to happen. I'm going to do this so that doesn't happen. I'm going to behave this way, so I'm going to prevent that.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to not do this because then that's not going to happen. So those fears, or I'm going to be overprotected, or I'm going to be over angry. So that way my anger covers these fears, and that way I'm protected.
Mm-hmm.
And all that is does is affecting the energy of the kidneys.
Wow.
So isn't that how important? And I believe with the liver, I believe that one was with anger. When you hold a
Mm-hmm.
lot of anger, and with your stomach, that's when it's pretty connected to your self-worth. It's about not acknowledging yourself, not acknowledging your value, which is so taught so little to us. And we must learn it by ourselves in life. We must awaken to that reality that we have to learn our self-worth. And what is that? That is speaking our truth, standing for our beliefs, um, not only working with community, because as we healed, we're healing them too. I'm
Wow.
not saying completely, but I'm
Yeah.
saying you are a thread in this huge tapestry. So, acknowledging all these symptoms within ourselves, we're able then to target and meditate in those
Mm-hmm.
areas.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to help that area, obviously, you medical attention, obviously, it's always at first. But it has been said that all illness is a disconnect from spiritual. It is when your self-worth has been compromised, your connection to source, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, or you would think it's a higher power, you have been disconnected from that, which is reminding you that you are divine, you are infinite, you are so powerful in everything.
Mm-hmm.
People, and this, let me show you little examples of how you disempower yourself. Oh, I'm going to go for, I need an apartment. Well, I'm going to get on the studio because that's all I can afford and that's all. Why don't you think that there's an apartment on a high-end building that is going to have the same amount of money that you're going to pay for that studio? Why do you think that's not possible?
Mm-hmm.
Why? There's something with us that's been taught, no, let's think little. Let's stay small.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go for that job that pays 100,000. I've only been getting paid 50,000. Why would I give? I mean, I may have the skills, but I'm not going to get, the title of manager. So these are ways where we've been disconnected from
Yeah.
our source, which reminds us of how divine we are, of how precious, of how
Mm-hmm.
powerful, how we
Mm-hmm.
can manifest. You can manifest an apartment in a
Yeah.
high-end, high-rise, Manhattan, Fifth Avenue, if you want, for sure, something that you are able to afford. I know I've done that. I know, I've seen people that done that to manifest that. Why? Why is not possible? Well, they may have been a lottery that year. They may have been something that was happening. There might have been so many apartments open in that building that they needed someone in. So guess
Mm-hmm.
what? We're going to get
Mm-hmm.
you in at this price.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible if you believe. But if you have the idea, it's not going to happen. That's not for me. That's your self-worth was compromised. And we just need to go back and connect to that. How do we connect with that? Meditation. Meditations is one of the ways to get us back to connect to that part of ourselves. And all you have to do is set a few minutes. It doesn't have to be eternal. It has to be a few minutes where you focus on your breath. Focus on how you go breath in and how you breath out.
Mm-hmm. And I
Yeah.
am so happy you mentioned that there's two things I want to mention, and I'm going to try to be brief because I know I talk a lot, but I'm going to make it brief. The stomach's exit reflex that I get it a lot. And now that you are talking, I realize that when I was younger, in my teenage year and as a child, I never valued myself. I consider myself to be the ugliest one who never gonna get a man. I consider myself the one that didn't go to school and not gonna get a job. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get a job, but I'm gonna get a minimum job that is not gonna pay me enough to be where I wanna be. But once I changed that mentality of myself, and I started to think positive. My life, it's like a switch. I changed the chip in my head. And if I tell you that today I have my master's degree, I live in an apartment that I never thought I was gonna get. And if I tell you the story, you're not gonna believe it, but it actually happened. Like God worked in mysterious way. Trust me, I did not have the money for the apartment, and the money came to me. And I didn't have to pay a penny of that $20,000 that I needed. And I'll tell you the story more in more detail, but it's true what you're saying. Like when you change the chip in your head and you start to think positive, things really change. And
Yeah.
about the exit reflex, I still have it and I still have to work on that part. But yeah, you are totally right about those things. You are so
Yes.
right.
We are ongoing projects, so it's like let's be gracious with ourselves for all the processes. I have my, autoimmune issues too. So there is, we not only are as practitioners, but as people who are empowering others into this journey. That doesn't mean we're
Mhm.
gurus or we're completely healed or there's nothing wrong in our
Right.
lives or everything is flowing, we're gazillionaires. It does not what it means. It just means our life has taken a turn where we are not reacting to the outside like we used to.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you have lower back pain, that usually tells me not only that you carry a huge worry about financial success,
Mm-hmm.
but that there's a huge weight that you put on yourself. You may be a little codependent, and that has a lot to do with trying to please others, trying to make others happy, trying to satisfy everybody else's needs but your own.
Mm-hmm.
So each of our areas on our body are telling us information. In hypnotherapy, there is this what we call body syndromes, and we understand a person when they tell us what's wrong with them. If they tell us there's something wrong with the right side of their body, we know there's a masculine issue. Like there may be an issue with a masculine person. It could be a boss, it
Mm-hmm.
could be a father, it could be their own aspect of masculinity. If the left side is the feminine, or if your knees are hurting, there's too much weight on you there, or do you not know where your direction is?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
your feet is where they take you, right? So literally, if your legs are hurting, it's just like you're having a pause as to what you want in life. You don't know what you want in life. It seems like you're lost in life, so you don't know where to go. So your feet are like, well, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're giving you signals, they're giving you signals. So these are some of the ways that we can listen to our body. You can always find out more body syndromes if you go into Google. You can always ask spiritually, what does this mean? Teeth, even your teeth. If the second tooth from whatever is hurting, believe me, is connected because we're all nerves, right? We're connected
Right.
to nerves. So it's connected to maybe a maternal issue, maybe it's connected with an anger issue, maybe it's connected. So if your teeth is hurting somewhere, there's a signal also you're even getting in
Mm-hmm.
there. It
Mm-hmm.
goes even that small. Imagine that.
Wow, that's amazing. And we're going to stop it right here. It has been so much information, Karen. We're going to bring you back for other tips because this has been very
Thank you so
helpful.
much.
Thank you
Thank
so much for all of this information. And please, 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 my dear brothers and sisters out there, change the chip in your head. It's possible, and you will see the results. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank Karen for being with us today, giving us all of this information. And before we end the podcast, Karen, can you give us your information in case one of our viewers wanted to reach out to you for assistance?
Yes, yes. You can visit me at klexishypnotherapy.com. It's spelled Klexix, klexishypnotherapy.com.
And I will be adding that information on the bottom of the podcast so you can have access to it. And please, if you need help, seek for help. Do not keep it to yourself. That develops future diseases. So have a great day. I hope this information helped you a lot. And may God bless all of y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.